To talk a little bit about self, and I'm gonna read some stuff out of the book again, because the best descriptions of these things have already been written, and I'm not going to be able to make it better. And it segues into step one. So, selfishness, self-centeredness, that I think is the root of my trouble. Again, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. I step on the toes of my fellows, and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt me, seemingly without provocation, but I invariably find that at some time in the past, I have made decisions based on self, which later placed me in a position to be hurt. My sponsor used to say, "I'm not much, but I'm all I ever think about." So my troubles, I think, are basically of my own making. They arise out of myself. And me, as an alcoholic, I'm an extreme example of self-will run riot, though I usually don't think so. Above everything, I must be rid of this selfishness. I must, or it kills me. And then it says God makes that possible. And there often seems no way of entirely getting rid of self without His aid. I have had moral and philosophical convictions galore, but I could not live up to them even though I would have liked to. Neither could I reduce my self-centeredness much by wishing or trying on my own power. I have to have God's help. So there's a lot of self there. Selfishness, self-centeredness, self-delusion. It's all about self. This disease is a self. It's the disease of self. I'm self-centered in the extreme. It's all I ever think about. I think, before even in AA, with years of sobriety, I think deep down inside that I'm this wonderful guy. On the ego side, the self side. Self thinks that self is really a good guy. Self tells me that you're not a liar. You're a truth teller. You're honest, and you're compassionate, and you're generous, and you're a good person, and people should like you. Why don't they see how good you are? The proof is in the pudding, right? Or as Emmett Fox puts it, by your fruits you will know them. And by my fruits, I didn't have friends in AA for a long time sober. Nobody wanted to hang out with me, and I didn't want to hang out with any of you either. But deep down inside, I thought if you really knew who I was, you'd like me. You'd want to be my friend, because I'm kind and generous and loving and tolerant. But the reason that I'm not right now is because of circumstances. The only time I ever lie is when I have to lie. I don't lie because I'm a liar. I only lie because I'm backed into a corner, and the only way to get out of this corner successfully with self is to lie. So I don't lie out of a desire to lie. I lie out of the necessity to lie. But I live a life where I'm always lying because I'm always trying to get out of the corner I've backed myself into. And then I think, I'm a generous person. I tell myself I'm a giver. If I had more money, I would have texted money to the people in the Philippines. They need that money. If I had more, I would give it. But I have enough to send some. I don't send it because my mind in grandiosity says, yeah, you need to send them $100. What's $5 going to do? But really, I'm not that generous. Really, I find a reason to not give in self. Self says, no, we need this. We don't have enough yet. There's not going to be enough because self likes to project out to 65. And at 65, the way I see myself at 65 in self is broke, alone, sick, with no one to help me and no money for medicine. That's where my disease takes me. In the future, in the fear, and in the self. And that's what happens to me. And so this self-obsession feeds the ego. And the ego feeds the alcoholism. And all three of them get whipped into a state of, I need to kill somebody. And I run around, like I said before, I don't have to get mad. I'm already mad. And I'm not mad appropriate to the situation that I'm in. You cut me off on the freeway, and I'm mad for everybody that's ever cut me off on the freeway. That's why my reaction is so disproportionate. When you cut me off, the appropriate thing might be to let you in. In treated alcoholism, I can back off because I'm not in a hurry anymore, because I left on time to get to where I was going, and I'm not pushing and shoving, and I can let you in, and it's a non-event. But in alcoholism, you cut me off, and I have to punish you for everybody that's ever cut me off, because I never forget. You know, in alcoholism and ego and self, I have 2 filing cabinets. And they are ironclad filing cabinets in my mind. And there's only 2 of them. One is everything you ever did that pissed me off. I remember everything you ever did that pissed me off. And then I remember everything I ever did that was nice to you. That's it. I don't remember anything nice you ever did to me. Ever. It's not there. When it's time, I only remember the terrible stuff that you did, and I'm filled with resentments. That's why I've got to do the force thing. I got to empty that filing cabinet, and I get to do that, and I get to do it in a new character. As a way of life, we're going to build a new character now. This is the old character. This is the disease side. This is the trouble. I got to see it. I got to shine a light on it. And I got to know that there is a program of recovery. It's not a program of failure. And I'm going to get to have recovery. And I'm going to get to go forward in a way of life where I'm going to have today, I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. I told you about my day today. I had the most beautiful day. It was so good, I can't believe how good it was. So far, up until this moment right now. I'm having one of the best days of my life. And nothing good or bad is happening except for that I'm on a primetime men's stag retreat. And I'm up here connecting with my higher power with no distractions. And I get to start to live this as a way of life. Power, could you be with me right now? Could you help me hear what's being said? Could you help me be here in this room? Could you help me get this all over me? You already know everything I said. I know you do. I know deep down inside you know all this. But we got to awaken that spirit and bring that spirit out. And that's what this weekend is about. It's not about learning anything. That's why you can take notes and write stuff down, but if you're like me, I never read those notes again because I'm too busy. I'm too busy in my life going as fast as I can, trying to figure out everything and get everything straight, get all my ducks in a row. So that I can be at peace right now, I need to get the right amount of money and the right girl and the right car and the right job. And as soon as I get the right girl, I don't like the place I live, and now I need a new place. And then I get the place right, and I hate my job. And then I get my job right, and my girl's all wrong again. And they just keep going, and I keep trying to get them back in line, and they keep going off. In alcoholism, nothing's ever right. And I'm unsatisfiable. Even if I get the perfect room at the perfect retreat with the perfect guys in the car, my mind finds fault with it. And it's a terrible day. It's a terrible way of life. So that's it for self.
First question. Go ahead and bring them on up.
What is the difference between higher power and higher self? We find the great reality deep down inside of us. So, the higher self or the higher power is deep down within me. I think it's pretty much saying the same thing, just using a different word. That's my opinion. I don't really differentiate between the two. For me, it's not necessary. Thanks. Could you explain what the part about the businessman who lolls in the Florida sunshine complaining of the sad state of the nation? Okay. Yeah. As a selfish, self-centered alcoholic. Okay, so it says, my actor, I'm an actor, because it's talking about the actor, and we're going to go into this in the first step, but my actor is self-centered, egocentric, the things that we've been talking about all night, as people like to call it nowadays. I am like the retired businessman who lolls in the Florida sunshine complaining about the sad state of the nation. I'm like the retired businessman who hears about the troubles in the Philippines and complains about it, but doesn't send any money and doesn't go to the Philippines to be helpful. I just complain about it. I just find fault with the way they're doing it there. And they should have built their houses stronger. And I'm that guy. I'm like the minister who sighs of the sins of the 20th century. I'm a fault finder. See, I don't see the good stuff that's happening in the 20th century. I just find the fault with the 20th century. I'm the politician and reformers who think all would be a utopia if the rest of the world would only behave. It's not my fault. It's your fault that the world sucks. And the outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him. So because society has wronged me once, and it says thinks that society wronged him. See, I think when I walked in, you said, "How are you doing, Randy?" And my mind told me, you said, "You're not doing so well, are you?" I think you were finding fault with me, when maybe you were just saying, "How are you doing?" which is like how people say hello. There's nothing there. Nobody cares how you're doing anyway. Nobody ever stops to hear, "How you doing?" We're on to the next thing. That's why Jimmy Sortino says, "I don't say, 'How are you doing?' I say, 'It's great to see you.' And I say, 'It's great to see you.' I don't say, 'How are you doing?' anymore, because I don't care." God forbid you tell me how you're doing and I get stopped and I'm in a hurry with an unsatisfiable mind. Now I got to listen to your sad story. I got my own sad story going on. I don't have time for yours. How you doing? Please say okay and move along, right? But it's great to see you. Now you're saying something. You're there. I acknowledge you, and I'm grateful that I get to be in your presence for this moment. That's something. That's a new character. And Jimmy taught me that last retreat. Okay.
We got lots now.
What can I do if self always has to be in charge? The best, the most important, the center of attention, treated special. Well, again, we're looking at self. We're looking at it. We're shining a light on it. What I got to do first is see that I have a self that always has to be in charge. I have to see that I think I'm the most important thing and that I'm the center of the attention and that I need to be treated special. I need to see that because I don't really see that. In the 12 and 12, in the first step, it says, even these last gaspers. Now, I don't see myself as a last gasper. When I think of a last gasper, I see a guy in a trench coat in a gutter, covered in puke, not able to get up. That's a last gasper. I'm not a last gasper. I drove to my first meeting in my own car. And it says, even these last gaspers often had difficulty in seeing how hopeless they actually were. The last gaspers have trouble seeing how hopeless they actually are. And I don't think I'm a last gasper. How am I going to see how hopeless I am? I used to drive around in my car in L.A. for years, going to prime time. And my mind would tell me, Randy, you need to hit a lower bottom. You can't surrender because you have too high of a bottom. You need to go out and drink some more so you can really ruin your life, so you can be a last gasper, then you could surrender and you'll have a deep and meaningful surrender and you won't have all this mental pain anymore. And I would say, I intuitively knew that was not the right solution to my problem. But I am a last gasper. I'm a guy who drives down the freeway at night coming home from a job thinking that this job sucks. The house I'm going to sucks. The woman I'm with sucks. Nothing's ever going to get better. I'm the world's biggest loser. And I'm picking out telephone poles on the way home thinking, man, if I could just get the guts to drive my car into that telephone pole, it would kill the pain. Let's just do it right now. Kill the pain. And I'm a last gasper. And the light was shined on it, and I could actually sit in this meeting and hear what was wrong with me. I went, oh my God, I'm a last gasper. And then it says that these last gaspers, a few of them laid hold of AA's principles with all the fervor with which the drowning sees life preservers. And they invariably got well. And there's hope for me. If I can admit my last gasperness. Because if I don't admit that, there is no chance that I'm going to have recovery. What does it mean when self is the power and the authority? Yeah, when self is the power and the authority. When alcoholism, ego, and self is the power for my life, and I'm driven by that, it means I'm going to have a world of pain. It means what alcoholism wants from me, what it wants from me today, is it wants me to hate all of you. It wants me to push you out of my life. It wants me to get divorced. And it wants me to burn through all my money gambling and doing crazy stuff. And it wants me to ruin my life. And then it'll tell me to drink. And get me to drink. And that's how alcoholism operates in my life today. It doesn't say drink. I'm not obsessed with alcohol today. But I will be one day if I don't apply these 12 steps as a way of life for my life. I will get in enough pain because I will do terrible things. I'll go for the quick fix money deals and I'll lose all my money. Or God forbid I make a bunch of money. I might go for the quick fix money deals and I might win. And when I win, now I don't want the wife I'm with for sure. Because she wants me to change light bulbs. And she wants me to do laundry and clean dishes. And I don't want that. I want a young one. I want a new one, a smarter one, and I got more money now and I can afford one. So either way, I'm screwed. Alcoholism is a disease that no matter what you get, you lose. How many times I was with a woman that I couldn't stand. I just hated her. I'd been with her 6 months longer than I should have been with her, and all I could do was find fault, and I was miserable. And every day I'd have the discussion, I need to get rid of her. And then it would say, no, you get rid of her, then you're going to miss her. And then she might be the right one. You don't want to make a mistake. Try another day. Oh, God, another day with her? That's terrible. And there's a debate going on, and there's a world of pain. And then my mind pushes me to get rid of her. And yes, I'm breaking up with her. And I'm so happy I finally got the courage up to break up with her. And the minute I break up with her and I walk out of that apartment, that same mind that wouldn't shut up about breaking up with her turns right around in that instant and says, you are the stupidest guy on the planet. That is the only good woman you're ever going to have. And it starts killing me. And it starts crushing the life out of me. And it starts destroying my life again. Right after I did what it told me to do. It's the power for my life, and it's the wrong power. Whenever I act out of alcoholism, I pay. I pay a price, a big price. And Bob used to say, Bob used to say, we used to hear it a lot more in meetings. Bob said this, and Bob said that, and Bob said this. And it's great that Bob said it, but Bob said it because his sponsor said it. Ed Stevens said it. And Ed Stevens said it because his sponsor said it. And everything I've said tonight is because my sponsors and Bob said it. The reason I don't have to say Bob said this and Bob said that and Bob said this, because I'm living it as my life. It's my life today. So I'm saying it from my experience. This is my life in Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the program that I'm living. And even though Bob said it, and Ted said it, and Ed Stevens said it, and Tony said it, and half of you guys have said this, it doesn't matter what you've said. I have to say you said it if I haven't lived it. I've got to give you credit because I have no credibility behind what I'm saying. But when I'm living this as a way of life for my life, now I'm saying it because it's from my life. I don't even know what I was going to say Bob said anymore.
There you go. This is a repeat. You can just read the question and say you just talked about it.
I've heard it said that when I'm in my disease, then I'm with self. And that self is the wrong power. What does that mean? Self is the wrong power, and it means I'm going to be in a world of trouble. When I listen to self, I ruin my life. Does self reveal self to self? Yeah, the reason I'm here at this primetime meeting is so that I can shine the light on myself. As much as I've seen it and as much as I know about it, it hides. It's a hidden disease. It hides in the knowledge. I know all these words. I know these books. I've read these books. I've listened to this talk. I'm talking it. Because I'm talking it, my disease tells me I know something. And then it's the disease that's telling me I know something, and now it's slipping in subtly into my life. And now I'm an authority. And now I know something. And now I'm going to tell you about old ideas. I'm going to use self as the power. Because self wants to be the power for my life. It's dying to be the power. The self and the ego, for my life, they can only live in the past and the future. Self cannot live in the now. The ego is smashed in the now. Right now, in this moment, right here, there can only be a power greater than self. Self cannot live in this moment. But I've got to be able to see that self. I've got to be shown what it is, and I can't see it. And that's what the 12 steps do. And hopefully I get a sponsor that knows what self is, that knows what the disease really is, so that as we go through the steps, we go through them as a way of life, so that I learn a new way to go without energizing self anymore. It's not necessary. It's none of my opinion what I think. It's none of my opinion what I think about you. You know, I haven't had an opinion about the clothes that you're wearing, or the beards or mustaches that you have or don't have, or the glasses you're wearing. I have not had one opinion about you guys tonight since I've been standing up here. I guarantee that there's been some opinions out there so far tonight about what I'm saying and how I'm acting and what I'm doing. But I am not allowed to ask myself what I think about anything anymore, because self will tell me. It'll have an opinion, and it'll find fault, and it'll start that track going again. Should I have high self-esteem? You know, people talk about self-esteem all the time. I don't have self-esteem. I have been given a way of life by a power greater than myself. And everything that's good in my life is because of Alcoholics Anonymous and a power greater than me. So how can I have self-esteem? I love the man that I am today, but I take no credit for that man. My wife tells me the most amazing things about me. She loves me. And she says the most amazing things about the man that I am. I can't even believe that another person would say those things. And I give God all the credit for that. And I'm standing up here today. I'm not here because of self. You guys would be running for the hills. There wouldn't be a seat. There wouldn't be one butt in a seat here if self was coming here to tell you what self knows. I'm not here. I'm here to treat my disease. And my power loves me so much that I get to have this experience. I get to be here with all of you. And I get to stand up here and do this until you tell me no more. And when you say enough, just like with the questions, answering them out of order, if you say enough, I'll go home. I'll sit down. I'll listen. And tomorrow night, there's going to be a meeting tomorrow night where you're going to all get to share about your experience on this retreat and in your recovery, and everybody's going to get a chance to share. And I hope that something's happening here. And the something isn't a learning thing, it's a power. Would you be with me right now? Could you help me to have a quiet mind? Could you help me to be here in this room? Could you help me to have a new experience that I've never had before? Even if I've been on retreats before, or this retreat, I've never been right here, right now. And this is where I need to be. And self-esteem, I love my life today, but it's because of a higher power that I get to have this life. It's not because self. It's not because I learned some stuff and now I act better. and I'm a better man. I'm not capable of being a better man. I lack the power to change. That's the power I lack. I'm not changed. It says how it works. I stand at the turning point. I stand at the turning point right now. This moment, I stand at the turning point. And then it says, I ask His protection and care with complete abandon. And for my life, I had to look at that. Do I stand at the turning point? Am I at the turning point right now? Where else? When am I going to be at that turning point? Later? When you get back to your room? When you get with your wife? When you get with your son and you need to tell him the truth? That'll be a turning point, but this is the turning point right here, right now. I ask His protection and care with complete abandon right now. So I got two options, right? I stand at the turning point right now. I get to ask His protection. His is God's, or my higher power, or my higher self. I get to ask its protection and care with complete abandon of self, or I get to ask my protection and care with complete abandon of God. Those are the two options. That's what's being offered. When I do my will, I get my old life. When I abandon God and I do what I say, I get the old way of life. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. No matter how it works out, my mind always tells me I lost. Get the girl, I lose. Get rid of the girl, I lose. Get the job, I lose. Don't get the job, I lose. That's the self side. On the other side, I just win. I just get to be right here, right now, and there's no winning and losing. There's just being. And this is a beautiful moment that I get to experience. And maybe I'll remember it. Step one? One more question?
And then we go to step one.
Describe the difference between the power of self and the power greater than self. I don't know the difference. I can describe what it feels like in the power of self. And I've described it for the last hour and a half. I'm restless, irritable, and discontented. I'm in a hurry. I'm in finding fault with everything. And I'm unsatisfied, no matter what I get. That's the power of self. In the relationship with the power greater than self, I get to be restored to sanity right now. I get to have soundness of mind right now, right here, right now. And I get to be at peace. And you know what that feels like? Yes, you do. Everybody in here knows what that feels like, or you wouldn't have come up on this retreat. And you're here to get a little bit more. And it's here right now. If you're not experiencing it, there's a power greater than me, greater than you. And you get to have that relationship right now because there's nothing else to do. Everyone's got the same seat. Everyone got the same food. Everyone got the same hot coffee. I get to just be right here, right now, and experience this thing. Feel my butt in the seat. And I got to get my mind where my butt is. That's it. You guys want to take a 5-minute break and go to the bathroom and move around and stand up? Step one, I admitted I'm powerless over alcohol, that my life has become unmanageable. I read it in the I. I read these books in the I. I change over all the we's and they's and us and them to I. Because when I read it in the I, it's a story about me. When I read it in the we, it's a story about you guys. And we means you better do something so I can be okay. The first line in the 12 and 12. Who cares to admit complete defeat? And there's a question mark there. Now, I read that as a sentence. It's a nice sentence. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Question mark. And then it answers the question. Practically no one, of course. And I agreed with that. And so I just kept reading. Because it's a book, and you read books. And the purpose of reading a book is to get to the end of the book so you know how it finishes. And then you can live that way or move on and get another book. But this book isn't like that. And that was what was shown to me, because I read it like that. I read it like it was a story about you guys, and what you should do for your recovery, and I should be able to just not drink and get better. But when my sponsor, he said, do you care to admit complete defeat? And I said, no, I do not care to admit complete defeat. I'll admit alcohol defeat, but I'm not admitting money defeat, or girlfriend defeat, or apartment defeat, or driving defeat. I'm an excellent driver. Dad lets me drive in the driveway every Tuesday. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Do I care to admit complete defeat? Hell no, I do not. But it talks about complete defeat about 4 times in the first page of the 12 and 12. It says practically no one, of course, right? Every natural instinct. That's the next line. Every natural instinct in me cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. Everything that I'm made of cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. It is not weird that I don't just surrender. Because I can't surrender. If I could, I would, because I know how it feels so good to surrender and to be able to be in that place where I'm willing to do anything. Isn't that the best place to be? It's like, okay, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. You want the floor cleaned? I'll clean the floor. I don't care. Just let me. So long as it makes my mind quiet, I'll clean the floor. Thank you for letting me clean the floor. Oh, this is great. And then, but then that thing comes back that cries out against personal powerlessness. How come they're not cleaning the floor? Why should I have to clean the floor? And all of a sudden it's back. And I'm not a complete defeat anymore. And I don't even know how it happened. Self just said, this isn't fair. You shouldn't have to clean the floor. There's other guys here. Let them clean the floor. You're more important than they are. You've been here longer. And it speaks to me with authority. Because every natural instinct in me cries out against the idea of personal powerlessness. That's what I'm up against. That's why I've got to know what's wrong with me. And that I don't want to express my power. I want to live in a place of powerlessness as a way of life. It's something that I desire because I've been shown what I get when I use my power. I know what it feels like to be cleaning the floor and hate it and hate everybody else because they're not cleaning the floor and be so miserable and still have to be cleaning the floor. It's like I'm still have to live this life. I still get up in the morning and I get through the day, but I just hate it, every step of it. I hate that I live where I live and I do what I do and the girl that I'm with, and it's just so painful. Right? But upon entering AA, I take quite another view of this absolute humiliation. I perceive that only through utter defeat, which is a lot like complete defeat, only through utter defeat am I able to take my first steps towards liberation and strength. My admission of personal powerlessness, my admission of that, the thing that I don't want to do, becomes the firm bedrock. Finally, turns out to be the firm bedrock upon which a happy and purposeful life can be built. I want to have a happy and purposeful life. But the thing that it takes to have that is the admission of personal powerlessness, and I can't do it. I lack the power to admit that. That's the power I lack. If I could admit my personal powerlessness, I would be relieved of alcoholism. If I could do it once and be done, that'd be that. I wouldn't need to come back to AA. But I have this disease that tells me you don't have a disease and there's nothing wrong with you and you just had some bad luck and you're going to stay sober some more days and you're going to catch a good break and things are going to work out and you're going to be okay. Just don't drink today. You're going to be okay, buddy. We know that little good can come to me as an alcoholic who joined AA unless I first accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. What I've been talking about up until this point right now is my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. My devastating weakness is not alcohol. Unless I take the first drink, right? This whole conversation would be academic. Wouldn't have to have it if I never took the first drink. But because of my disease and the amount of pain that it gets me into, I always think that drinking is a good idea. So I have to know my devastating weakness, and all of its consequences is all the lives, your lives that I ruin, everyone around me whose life I ruin, and push out of my life and then ruin my life. Until I so humble myself, my sobriety, if any, will be precarious. Of real happiness I'll find none at all. And then it says, this is proved beyond a doubt by immense experience. This is one of the facts of AA life. So, there's an AA life, and there's a Randy's life. My life is over. I'm a complete defeat at running my life. I get AA life now, and this is the beginning of AA life. And then it says that crazy thing again. The principle that I shall find no enduring strength until I first admit complete defeat is the main taproot from which our whole society is sprung and flowered. The main taproot, the thing that holds the whole thing in place, my sobriety, is held in place by the taproot of my admission of complete defeat. Complete defeat, not alcohol defeat. I can never ever drink alcohol again. But that's not what's wrong with me. I'm a complete defeat. And the unmanageable life isn't my outside life. My outside life, it becomes unmanageable. But it becomes unmanageable because of my inner life. The life that's unmanageable is my inner life. I cannot manage it. I cannot control what my mind's going to tell me and how it's going to think and what it's going to say to me. You know, the guys that know me that have heard me before, I could get into a shower, and it's a beautiful thing, a shower. We have hot water, running water, unlimited. You can shower forever. You might run out of hot water, but you're not going to run out of water. And it's fantastic. And I had a brother who went to prison for a while, and he told me that he never got to have a hot shower because of the pecking order, the way the showers worked. He didn't get a hot shower. And the next time I got in the shower and I turned the hot water on, I went, wow, I got a hot shower. How fantastic is this? That I get to take a hot shower whenever I want. But I get in the shower and my mind starts talking to me about my day. And it starts talking to me about what a loser I am. And it starts with a great idea, like I said before. My daughter, I'm going to put some money in my daughter's college savings account. Starts off as a good idea. Goes into my warped mind. And it gets warped around. And it comes out, you need to commit suicide. And the reason it does that is because I start finding fault with the business and the job and the people I work with and everyone I'm with. And I need to fire them and change them and change my whole life, and nothing ever works out for me, so it's all useless anyway, so I might as well kill myself. And all I had to do was take a hot shower. All I had to do was wash. And why is it so painful? Because my mind is in there. And my mind is the power, and I can't control that mind. What I get to do is abandon that mind, right? I stand at the turning point again, right now. Right now. I ask His protection and care. God, could you protect and care for me? Could you protect me from my mind? Right now. With complete abandon of that mind. So that I could be here now with the power. And just have a shower. And just feel the hot water. And just take a shower. It doesn't have to be the world's most painful event. So, the first step talks about the disease, the twofold nature of the disease. I have obsession of the mind, which we've talked about, and I have an allergy of the body. The reason I drink again is because of the obsession of the mind, not because I need a drink. I need a drink because not because I physically need a drink. That might be true for the first 5 days or 10 days or maybe the first day that you detox off alcohol. You need a drink to calm your nerves. But after you separated from alcohol, you don't need a drink anymore. You need to kill the pain of your mind. And alcohol is the thing that did it for so long, and it worked for so long, and then it stops working. And now what? And then we talked about the last gaspers. I'm a last gasper. I got to know I'm a last gasper. And I have the delusion. I have the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I only managed well. It's a lie that I tell myself. Like I said before, I would come to these retreats and I would sit out there and I would try and listen because I'm going to learn something. And I'm going to learn that thing, and the things that I'm going to learn are going to help me to manage my life better. I'm going to manage my emotions so I get along better with my wife, and I'm going to manage the way I think about my boss so that I can get along better with my boss, and I'm going to manage how I think about money so I'm not going to have financial insecurities anymore. And I live in the delusion, I live in the lie that I tell myself that one day I'm going to be able to wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if I can only manage well. And it's a lie. And I do all kinds of things in self, in the how it works in 60 to 63. It describes me so perfectly. It says, the first thing that's required is that I be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, I'm almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though my motives are good. Even with good motives, I'm in collision with everybody and everything. And then it says, that most people try to live by self-propulsion, which is nice. I'm glad to know that most people do that. But your self-propulsion doesn't kill me. My self-propulsion kills me. So whether or not you're a normie, or you have alcoholism or you don't, and you have other things that are bothering you, it's none of my business. I'm not a normie. I have grave emotional and mental disorders. I have alcoholism. There's something wrong with me and I need a treatment. Whether you do or not, none of my business. Why would I concern myself with whether you have it? I know because it was pointed out to me and shown to me, and I've gone through the 12 steps as a way of life. I know who I am. I know what's wrong with me. And I know that I need to treat my disease. Whether you do or not, I don't know. I hope you don't. I often say this. I hope you don't have what I have. I hope you don't have alcoholism. Or the alcoholism that I have. But if I'm not living in recovery, I'm dying of alcoholism. That's what I have. And not drinking and time hasn't made me better. Only in application right now in this moment do I get to start to get healed right now in this moment. But I think I try things to get people to do the way I want in the first step, because we don't have recovery yet in the first step. It's about the disease, and in the disease I try to get people to do what I want. And I try different tactics. In trying to make these arrangements, I may sometimes be quite virtuous. I may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. I may term myself a people pleaser. I'm such a nice guy, I do everything for everybody and they walk all over me. Or, on the other hand, I may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest. But it says with most humans, I'm both. I'll try nice and kind and considerate and self-sacrificing if I like you. I'll try those things. And when that doesn't work, I become mean, egotistical, and a pain in your butt. And I think when I'm being nice in early recovery, I think when I'm being nice and I'm being kind and I'm being considerate and patient and self-sacrificing, I think I'm with the power. Because I think those are godlike qualities and I'm not really capable of those things on my own power. I'm the mean, egotistical bully guy. But it's when I'm in self, everything I do is to please self. I want the show. what usually happens? The show doesn't come off very well. I begin to think life doesn't treat me right. I decide to exert myself more, and I become more, on the next occasion, more demanding or gracious, as the case may be. But ultimately, I'm trying to get the show to go the way I want. I want my wife to act a certain way, so I act nice or gracious. And then when she doesn't, I act mean and nasty. And I'm doing all these things to please self, to be self-satisfied. I'm trying with my will to get the world to be the way I want, and the show doesn't come off very well. Admitting I may be somewhat at fault, I'm sure that other people are more to blame. I become angry, indignant, self-pitying. What is my basic trouble? Am I not really a self-seeker, even when trying to be kind? That's why there's no people pleasers in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hear people say, "Oh, I'm a people pleaser," and people walk all over me. No, you're not. You're full of crap. The only reason you're nice to people is so that they'll do what you want. You're nice to them so they'll be your friend. Or you're nice to them so they'll think you're cool. Or you're nice to them so they'll sit next to you in a meeting so you don't have to sit by yourself and look like a weirdo. You're nice to them so that they'll give you a promotion at work. Everything about my niceness in alcoholism is to please myself, not to please you. And when you don't do what I want, then I become hurt and angry and indignant and self-pitying. Why does everybody walk on me? Why doesn't anything ever work out for me? And I think that my problem is that I'm such a nice guy that everybody walks all over me, but it's not true. It's just the tactic that I use to get what I want. So there's so much to talk about in the first step. Near the end of the first step, it says, under the lash of alcoholism, I'm driven to AA. And there I discover the fatal nature of my situation. This is a fatal disease. Alcoholism kills people, drunk and sober. With 28 years of sobriety, people go out and they get a gun because their mind told them to. They get a nice shiny pistol and they put it in their mouth and they blow the back of their head off because they had a bad business deal or something went south that they thought was going to go north. And their mind told them because it rained on the day they were supposed to play golf. Who knows? But my mind is that powerful that it can talk me into my bedroom and tell me to get out my pistol and put it in my mouth and blow the back of my brains off. That's how powerful this disease is. It's fatal. Or it can get me to drink again, and to drink is to die if I'm an alcoholic with alcoholism. Under the lash of alcoholism, I'm driven to AA, and there I discover the fatal nature of my situation. Then and only then do I become as open-minded to conviction and as willing to listen as the dying can be. Because I know that I'm a last gasper and the fatal nature of my disease, and I'm as willing to listen as the dying can be. I'll come up here and sit in a chair and listen and say, please, get some of this on me, help me, because I need to shut this mind up. And then it says, I stand ready to do anything which will lift the merciless obsession from me. And I've said this before. My merciless obsession is to be self-satisfied. It's to be pleased. My merciless obsession is to have the right amount of money in the bank so that my mind will shut up about money. And I can stop talking to myself about how much is the right amount, and I can stop adding and subtracting how much I have and how much I need and how much is going out and how much is coming in, and I go crazy about money, and it drives me all day long talking to me. And then if it's not money, then it's the girl, and if it's not the girl, it's the place I live or the job or the neighbors or something. And I'm mercilessly obsessed to be self-satisfied because I think that if I can get self-satisfied, then I'll be okay. But I have a disease that tells me no matter what I have, I need something else. It always moves the target. Even if I get exactly what I told myself I wanted, it moves the target. And so I stand ready to do anything which will lift my merciless obsession, and I have to do the worst thing that ever happened to me. I have to start doing the second step. I have to come to believe that there's a power, and that power is greater than me. and that I can't restore myself to sanity, but this power can. That's terrible. Because I want to be the power for my life so bad. I want to learn how to manage my life. I want to figure this thing out, and I want to go out and be a self-made man. I want to have the things that I tell myself that I need to be happy because I think that's the only way I can be happy. And coming to believe that there's a power greater than myself is the last thing that I want to do. And then that power is the power that's going to restore me to sanity is terrible. All the self-talk, all the plans, all the ideas, all the thoughts about money and girls and cars and all of that self-talk is me trying to restore myself to sanity. But it never works. And it never shuts up. And it never gives up. And it'll run you right into the ground. And that's the fatal nature of my disease. Nothing satisfies me except for I could be restored to sanity. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. But questions?
Yes, you're right. Thank you.
What's the difference between admitting complete defeat and accepting my devastating weakness? So, what I was taught or shown is that admitting is something I do with reluctance. So I come in and I admit it, but with a compliant aspect to it. You know, I'm here. Yes, I can never drink again, but maybe I can, but I'll try this AA thing. Accepting it is when it sinks down into my subconscious mind, and now it's the truth for my life, and I accept it, and I have no more quarrel with it. Yes, there's something wrong with me, and I need a treatment. And when I accept my devastating weakness, now I can start going in a direction to treat that disease. But when I just admit it, I'm still arguing. There's still an argument there. In other words, what's the difference? Oh, I did that. Okay. This is solved. That's done.
You probably won't get to all of them tonight because you only have about 5 minutes left.
How do you humble yourself? It says, until I'm so humbled. Right? Did I read that somewhere? Until I'm so humbled?
You only got 5 minutes.
I only got 5 minutes. That's until I so humble myself, my sobriety will be precarious. The way that I'm humbled is by admitting my accepting my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. And the way that happens is another man. I spent a lot of time with another man, and I got a lot of human help to be shown who I was, so that I could get to a place where I might be able to accept my devastating weakness and all of its consequences. It's not something that happened because I didn't drink for a few days or a few years. It happened because I sat down with another man and I exposed myself, and he shined the mirror back on me and said, "This is who you are, Randy. This is who you are." And I said, "No, that's not me." And he said, and then I'd go out back into the world and I'd get in a world of pain, and I'd come back and I'd tell him the same story again, and he'd say, "This is who you are, Randy." And I'd say, "Nah, that's not me. That's you guys." And then I'd go out there and I'd beat myself against the wall again, and I'd come back bloody and beaten, and he'd say, "Look, this is who you are, Randy." And I'd say, "Nah, it's not me. It's not me. I'm not a complete defeat. Watch, I'll go do it." And I go back out there, and then eventually I get shown who I am. And I come back in humbled by the incredible beating that alcoholism administers, drunk or sober. It's going to beat me into submission. I'm either going to drink or die, or accept my devastating weakness and start a program of recovery. How do I admit complete defeat or surrender when I'm trying to, but I can't do it? That's a great question. You know, the thing about complete defeat is, first of all, I have a few guys that I sponsor, and I give them direction. What should I do? Step one, what should I do? What should I do? Tell me what to do. Okay, all right, read the first step out of the 12 and 12 every day. And we're going to get together next Tuesday. It's Tuesday. We're going to get together next Tuesday and we're going to talk about it. And next Tuesday, and then we talk on Sunday. We talked a few times, but on Sunday I said, so how's the reading going? Oh, I haven't read it yet. It's Sunday now. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it today. And I say, okay, yeah, when we hang up the phone, just read it one time and you'll have one day, you'll have today. Just read it. Okay, I'm going to read it today. Okay. Tuesday, we talk on the phone. I'm coming over tonight. We're going to go deeper in the first step. I'm all, okay. Have you read the 12 and 12 yet? No, but I'm going to do it right after lunch. Right after lunch, I'm reading the 12 and 12. And then Tuesday night comes and he shows up and he hasn't read it. And he hasn't read it. And I say, we read it together about complete defeat. We read it together. And I said, you can't admit complete defeat. And then you go and you have an experience where I meant to do it. Every day I told myself I'm going to read it. It's my experience also. Every day I told my sponsor, I'm going to read it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it today. I mean well. I'm going to do it. And every day my mind will not allow me to do it. It's 4 pages. I say I want to do the steps. I can't read 4 pages. My mind will not allow me to do it. And that's complete defeat. When I realize that I can't even do what I say I'm going to do. I can't be the man that I say I am. That's when my complete defeat is complete. When I realize that I can't even admit complete defeat. That's an alcoholic.